I am going to speak today on how to stay friends with your husband. The verse that's been on the front of the church since Brandy's wedding, I think Brandy originated that verse. Actually, God did, but Brandy stuck it on the wall. Song of Solomon 5:16, this is my beloved and this is my friend. And I think that is such a wonderful statement about your husband. To make that your goal in your marriage. Do you know, some days you really don't want to be his friend because you're just a little bit frustrated with him. And since we're the old ladies, I can say that because you all have had those days. I guess those girls that have been married more than 3 weeks have probably had those days too. But anyway, but this is not a lesson on how to make your husband be your friend. See, I think one of the problems in our marriages is we always think, now, if I do this, okay, I want to go here, this conference, because if I do this, then my husband will do this. And as long as that's always your motive for everything you do in your marriage and wanting to learn the Bible and learn how to do these things, you're not going to be happy. Because if it's always because you can get out of it, in fact, your Christianity is not going to make you happy if that's what motivates you in life. We are supposed to want to be the best wives we can be, not even to make our husbands happy. That shouldn't be your motivation, because sometimes you can't make those men happy. Because guess what? They're sinners like we are. You're supposed to want to be the best wife you can be to glorify God and to please Him. And if that stays your focal point, and if that stays your motivation, you will be successful at reaching your goals because you have the right foundation. But we're just going to talk a little bit about friendship. We are talking about how to keep being your husband's friend. That's what we're talking about. And I have a little thing of ABCs. I almost didn't share this because I thought this would be a lesson in itself, but it's really too long, and I'm kind of long-winded anyway, so I definitely don't need a long outline as it is. But I'm just going to read through this. It's the ABCs of a friend, and these are the things that your husband ought to feel. This is what I need. I need this friend. I need my husband to do these things for me. That's not the goal of this. This is for you to say, does my husband feel that I'm his friend? So let me read this to you. A, accepts you as you are. B, believes in you. C, calls you just to say hi. D, doesn't give up on you. E, envisions the whole of you, even the unfinished parts. And ladies, no matter how long you've been married, you still feel like your husband has a few unfinished parts. Forgives your mistakes, gives unconditionally, helps you, invites you over, just likes being with you, keeps you close at heart, loves you for who you are, makes a difference in your life, never judges, offers support, picks you up, quiets your fears, raises your spirits, says nice things about you, tells you the truth when you need to hear it, understands you, values you, walks beside you, explains things you don't understand. You have to be careful about that one, ladies. You have to do that in a tricky way. Yields to your preferences and zaps you back to reality. So those are some thoughts, and I won't go into any of those. But does your husband, if I were to go ask your husband, and he were to be completely honest with me, and I were to say, is your wife a friend to you? What do you think he would say? I don't want you to raise your hand or tell me or anything, but I just want you to think in your own heart, does my husband think of me as a friend? And I looked up the word paradise because our theme is on paradise, making your marriage a paradise or back to paradise or whatever you want to call it. But the word paradise means a place of delight, joy, and happiness. And when your husband goes home to a friend, when he lives with his friend, he feels like he is living in a place of delight, joy, and happiness. And there is a paradise in your home. So we're going to just take the word friend, and we're going to use, I like acrostics. And so I have a little palm tree up here. And this palm tree, we're going to design this palm tree so that it will remind you to make your, I guess people consider palms are part of paradise. I don't know, you know. When you live in Southern California, palms grow wherever there's water. We're always digging up palms because they're growing in the wrong place in our yard. But like Cindy, Scott comes out here and she just can't imagine palm trees. She just thinks palm trees are so romantic and so, she just has this thing about palm trees. And I said, we have about 6 different types of palm trees in our yards. No way, And she just thinks that that's such a neat thing. And so this palm tree is going to be a romantic symbol to us today. But number 1, if you want to be a friend to your husband, you could write notes if you want. It's going to be a simple outline. If you don't want to, you don't have to, of course. But number 1 is make him first in your life. Now, when you're one of the last speakers in a conference, there's not much left to say. So I'm going to just go ahead and try to do this anyway. But make him first in your life. And I drew little lines here so I could know where to stick these so they all go to fit together. Our job is to help our husband do God's will for his life. Now, all of your husbands have a different purpose, and they all have a different plan. God has a different plan for each man that's represented by you in this room. But your job is to help him do God's will, whatever it is. Now, some of our husbands some people in general have the same, God's will is the same for all of them. God's will is that we walk with him. God's will is that we tell others about Jesus. God's will is that we, some of us have the same God's will for all of us. So those are the easy parts. But you should still be asking yourself, if I'm with my husband's friend, am I really helping him be all that he's supposed to be for God? Am I helping him do God's will? Anything that keeps you from accomplishing this task is not God's will for you. In other words, let me just tell you, the last couple of months has been pretty busy for me. In the last 2-month period, I have been spoke out of town 6 times. Wow. Also during that time, we've had a Still Standing conference with Dennis Coral, a missions conference, and this couples conference. Also, during that time, we're going to have a fall program, a ladies' night out with the cookie exchange, and a victory rally. So my life has been a little bit hectic. And I'm working in the office 3 days a week, teaching in the school 2 days a week. And so my life is a bit hectic. I'm busy when none of these things are going on. Now, I believe I can do this. I think. Sometimes I don't believe I can. But I believe all these things were God's will for me to do. My husband and I talked about it, and we knew that this would be pressured. But I still have to make sure during this really busy time that he's first. And so there's a couple of things that I have made sure I do. For instance, Mondays and Fridays, now some of these out-of-town things have been on a Friday, but Mondays, for sure, I won't do anything but my home. I have decided I'm not going to do anything but my home. Now, there's been a couple conferences that were on a Monday evening, but I just stayed home all day. And I started my day as early. I still started my day at 5 o'clock in the morning, even though I wasn't going anywhere, because I had to get all these things done at home. So I wanted to make sure the home things were taken care of for my husband. And so Mondays and Fridays, I try very hard to get everything done at home. Tuesdays through Thursdays, I do work in the office here from 8 to 3 till Josiah gets out of school. And then the rest of what needs to be done in the evenings. One of those is Wednesday, so not much gets done on Wednesday. And then anything else that has to be done, errands, shopping, all that stuff, is either evenings or Saturdays. But I have to make sure that with all those responsibilities, that my husband doesn't feel like I don't have time for him. So anytime he wants me to go do something, no matter how much I have to do, I say, okay, I'll go. And I just drop it. And I try really hard not to worry about it. But I don't want him to feel like I'm too busy for him. Because as soon as he feels like I'm too busy for him, I'm not in God's will. And I'm not doing something right. Because he's not first. And it takes a lot of prayer, a lot of juggling, a lot of organizational skills. And sometimes I just have to say, I'm not going to be able to do as good a job as I would like to. I spoke at Victory Valley Baptist, Brother Kelling's ladies' conference last weekend? 2 weekends ago. We were in San Diego on a contest trip last weekend. But 2 weekends ago. And they had given me some topics. And I wanted to sit down and make all new lessons. And guess what? I couldn't make any new lessons. Because I couldn't make new lessons and still make my husband feel like he was first. So I just dug out old lessons. And I thought, I don't know how many of these ladies have been to our ladies' conferences, but if they have, they're going to hear some of the same stuff. And then I just dug up a few new illustrations. Because sometimes that's all people remember about your lesson anyway. So you could use the same outline, put new illustrations. They've never heard that lesson before, and it's the same exact lesson you taught last year. So that's a trick if you ever want to speak to ladies. But anyway, and I preferred not to do that. I preferred to get a whole new lesson and to have it be fresh. But I thought, you know what? They are not first. My husband is first. And I'm a real perfectionist, and I like to do things just a certain way. It's like either be able to do it a certain way or don't do it at all. And it's really hard for me to do something that's not quite as good as I want it to be. But it's better to do that than to make my husband feel like he's not first. So keep him first. And make sure your children don't become first. Now, we're pretty much past all that, so that's not much of a temptation, although it could still be because grown children take up your time. Grandchildren can take up your time. And your husband could feel like your grandchildren are more important to you than he is. The other day, Carly was not feeling well. And Fridays, I have a date with my husband. And I was out with my husband, and Josh called and wanted to know if I could go pick up Bryce to bring him to my house because Carly was not feeling well and she had those 2 babies. And I said, yes, as soon as your dad and I are done with our date. And so instead of going at 2 when he called, I went at 4 when we were done. And my husband kept saying, I had things we were going to do. And one of them was to buy Bryce a birthday present because it was his birthday Friday, and they were all coming to our house for dinner, but Carly didn't make it. She was sick. But anyway, because I was going to pick up Bryce and bring him over and keep him till the whole evening, and Josh would come over for his birthday. But I thought, my husband said, well, should we go now? And I said, no. I said, we could finish everything we were going to do. They'll be all right. And you say, that's kind of cold. No, my husband's first. If I didn't live in the same town as they lived in, they couldn't have called me to come get the baby. What would they do? Oh, no. Many people don't live in the same town as their grandma. It wasn't God's will for me to go pick up that baby. Now, I felt bad. I mean, I was a little torn. I wanted to say, sure, I'll be right over and get that baby, But I thought, 2 more hours, they'll be fine. And then I'll go get him. I'll keep him the rest of the evening. She could be quiet, because I couldn't take the little one because she's nursing that one. But Bryce is more of a handful right now than the baby. So anyway, we have to make sure that our husband feels that he is first in our life. Run to his defense. Or run to defend, as I have here. Run to defend. Now, I believe a friend will always defend you. Now, do you know where we need to defend our husband? Or you know who we need to defend our husband against the most? Ourselves. It's not so much his enemies out there that we're going to stand up and defend him. Do you know who could be his biggest critic and his biggest enemy? Is ourselves. And so, when he makes a mistake, remember that Proverbs 17:9 says, he that covereth a transgression seeketh love. And a friend loves. A true friend loves. Ladies, if you got married to a man and you thought he would never make a mistake, you were really deceived. And you know what? When you're married to a man, you're one flesh, and when he makes a mistake, guess what happens? You pay for his mistake. We don't like that, do we? We don't like to pay for someone else's mistake. But that's what marriage is all about. So run to his defense. You cannot stay friends with someone if you constantly dwell on the negative about them. So as soon as those negative things come up, you have got to start defending him against yourself. You will not help him by reacting to the negative in his life. Proverbs 17:17 also says, a friend loveth at all times. Remember this, and I think Cindy Scott said this, and she probably got it from someone else. People do not change people. Love changes people. And love covers a transgression. You will do more to change your husband by covering up for him in your own heart than you will by complaining and griping and telling him what you think he ought to do. We're all 40 and older. That's been announced many times now. We're the old ladies. We're the 40 and older. I think somewhere, and I know I turned 50 this year. You know, I've never had age bother me, ever. I don't care how old I am. But 50. I stopped and I thought, 50. I have more years behind me than I have before me. And there are all these things I wanted to accomplish in life. And I'm running out of time. There are things I wanted us as a couple to accomplish in life. And we are running out of time. There are things, there are things in my children. I've got 3 of them are basically gone. I ran out of time with them already. I've got Josiah. I feel like I'm running out of time for everything right now. I look at Josiah and go, he'll be in 7th grade next year. Oh no, there's too many things to teach him between now and 7th grade. But anyway, you do start thinking kind of different when you get a little older. Financially, you think, I thought we'd be a little farther or a little more secure or a little different at this age than what we are. That's a possibility of thinking that way. There's just a lot of ways you could start thinking when you get a little bit older. When you were younger, we have plenty of time. Borrow the money, honey. We have lots of time to pay it off. Now we don't have enough time. 30-year loan? 80 years old, I'm going to be paying a mortgage on a house? You start thinking about those things. You used to think 50 was old. But anyway, run to his defense. You know what? You've got to be really careful that you don't start blaming him for all the things that haven't happened like you thought they would happen by the time you were this age. That is just the devil working on your heart. So the devil is behind critical and judgmental thinking. He's the accuser of the brethren. He's the one that brings all that up. The happiest people don't necessarily have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything. And we need to remember that. If you want to be his friend, be interested. This is not going to look quite like a palm tree, but I think this is supposed to go on top. Nope, that's supposed to go on bottom. Be interested in his dreams. And someone's talked about this already too. Romans 12:15. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. You say, he does the rejoicing, I do the weeping. But some of you are married to men who are dreamers. I believe it's not just men are dreamers. I believe they're personalities. And I believe some men tend to dream. They're just dreamers. I have 2 sons, and they probably both are dreamers, but one is really a dreamer. One dreams. Josiah is my dreamer. He's an awful lot like his dad, and he would much rather sit around and think about all the things he's going to do than to do anything. He's out picking up the dog stuff in the yard. That's his wonderful job. He loves that job. And he's out there with his shovel and his bucket. And I'm sitting and watch him, and he's walking around, and then he just stops, and he just sits there. And he sits there, and he just sits there a long time, or stands there. I'm thinking, what is he doing? He needs to get his job done. And he's just standing there. And then he'll kind of come to himself, and he'll walk, and he'll pick something up, and then he'll stand there. I think, you know what he's doing? He's dreaming about something. He is inventing probably a dog poop picker-upper. I don't know what he's dreaming about. But he's not getting much work done, ladies. But some men are real dreamers. And you know what? Listen to them when they share their dreams. A friend will listen to someone share their dreams. No matter how idiotic you think it is, no matter how unrealistic you think it is, and don't correct his dreams. Don't improve upon his dreams. Yeah. Oh, that's great. And add your little tilt to it. He doesn't even, he's just enjoying the dreaming. He hasn't even thought about actually doing those things. He just wants to talk about it. And then you want to improve upon it. Just accept them and trust God to work it out. That's really what you really need to do. God may not bless your husband's dreams, but he will always bless your love and your obedience towards your husband's dreams. That's what will bring the blessings of God on your marriage. Friendship is born at that moment when one person says to another, "What? You too? I thought I was the only one." That's what friendship is. That spirit. C.S. Lewis said that, by the way. I didn't make that up. Letter E, enjoy him. Enjoy him. Okay, here. If I could get these to stay. Now, friends enjoy each other. And you know, the person you personally enjoy being with the most is the one you feel enjoys being with you. You know, when you're around someone, you feel that they thoroughly enjoy you. It's like, I really like that person. They have good taste, you know. And a husband who feels like his wife really enjoys him will feel like he has a friend. Proverbs 18:24, a man that hath friends must show himself friendly. You know, if you want to be your husband's friend, you have to be friendly towards him. True friendship multiplies joys and divides griefs. That's why it's so important to have friendship in your marriage. You have so much more happiness, and when something bad happens, you can divide it, and it's not so bad because you're sharing it together. But there are some fun ways to spend time with your husband. I've got 5 of them, and these are just ideas of things you can do to show him how much you enjoy him. Make a list of 5 things that you appreciate about him and mail it to him. If he has a place where he works, mail it to his job, or just mail it at home. Don't put it return address or anything on it. Just put his name on the outside, and he'll get mail and go, "Oh, I don't know who this is from." And he'll open it up and he'll read it. Put a note in a briefcase, a lunchbox, his underwear drawer, or anywhere else telling him that you love him. There was a college student at House Anderson College who his wife put a real racy note in his briefcase, and he went to college. And he opened up his briefcase, and he picked it out, and he opened it up, and he was reading it with his 2 buddies sitting beside him. And he didn't know what it said. And he folded it back up and put it back in there. And anyway, he said, "I have to be careful what I read for my wife in mixed company, or when there's other people around." Misunderstanding. If you have a misunderstanding, if you ever do, I don't know if you ever had, but if you ever do, this is a good idea. Make a white flag of surrender and put it on his pillow with a note that says, "Please forgive me, you're more important than anything else." That's a lot easier than going to him and telling him you're sorry. And I'll still get the same thing across. But anyway, be his friend. And then follow up with that when you go to bed, okay? So that'll take, and we're going to talk about that because that's been talked about. Enjoy him, and that is part of this. Buy him a toy. You all know some things that your husband enjoys to do. And just buy him a toy. Wrap it up. And just give it to him. Or leave it somewhere where he'll find it. It could be a book, a ball, a hammer, whatever. Think about sweet memories of dating life and talk about them next time you're together. Just bring up. You know, sometimes we forget. And we just get so caught up in the here and the now and the stress and the problems and the... You know, I know my husband and I have to be careful because we have wonderful people, we have a lot of joy, but when you have a church this big, you have a lot of heartache. And people don't usually call you and say, "I'm having a great day." They usually call you because there's a lot of heartache. Yesterday afternoon, when we got back from the picnic, we spent the whole about an hour and 20 minutes on the phone with someone that has a major heartache right now, that's out of town. And it was a very sad situation and a very heartbreaking situation. Sometimes, though, because of all that, because we have all of that, we could let that get us down, and we could tend to spend our time together talking about those things. And that's not really creating joy in our relationship. And it's not really helping us, So I like to not talk about problems when we're together and to just enjoy him and enjoy the time we're together and just say, let's just put all these people that we love very much aside right now because they'll still have a problem when we're done with this date. And let's just enjoy each other for now. But anyway, compliment him with a smile and say, "I'm so glad you love me." It's so important that you smile at your husband a lot and that you tell him how much you appreciate him. I want to read this to you. There was a couple that was celebrating their golden wedding anniversary, and the husband was asked what the secret to his successful marriage was. As the elderly are wont to do, the old man answered with a story. So this is an old couple story, so I thought I'd share it with you. His wife Sarah was the only girl he ever dated. He grew up in an orphanage and worked hard for everything he had. He never had time to date until Sarah swept him off his feet. Before he knew it, she had managed to get him to ask her to marry him. After they had said their vows on their wedding day, Sarah's father took the new groom aside and handed him a small gift. And I think this is such a good idea. So all our daughters' husbands are going to get this gift now. No, but he said, within this gift is all you, and he said to this, the father handed him a gift and said, within this gift is all you really need to know how to have a happy marriage. And the nervous young man fumbled with the paper and the ribbon until he got the package unwrapped. Within the box lay a watch, a gold watch. With great care he picked it up, and upon close examination he saw etched across the face of the watch a prudent reminder he would see whenever he checked the time of day. Words that said, words that, if heeded, held the secret to a successful marriage. They were this: say something nice to Sarah.
Wow.
Isn't that a great gift to give someone who marries your daughter? I'm going to write this one down. But anyway, a compliment so they feel that you enjoy them. And last of all, I got to hurry up. Oh, that's going to be crooked. Sorry, here I am, the one that has to make it all straight, huh? Need him. Need him. Ecclesiastes 4:9 says, 2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their labor. If they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him. Again, if 2 lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone? Lots of long johns and electric blankets, I guess. And if one prevail against him, who shall withstand him? And threefold cord is not quickly broken. But make him feel that you need him. Especially at this point in our marriages. Now, I know we went by age. We didn't go by how long you've been married. So some of you could be young in your marriage. But at our age, in our life, and in our marriages, if we've been married several years, we tend to become very self-sufficient as wives. And pretty soon, our husbands start feeling like they're getting older, and they could start feeling like they're not doing things as well as they used to. And then they could just start feeling like nobody really needs them. But do things just like ask his advice. You say, I already know how to do this. Well, ask anyway.
That's good.
And ask him to carry something heavy for you. You say, I carried this heavy stuff all day. But when he gets home, ask him to carry it for you. Have him open it. You know how water bottles are so thin now that when you hold the water bottle to open it, it always gets all over you? Well, I always ask my husband to open my water bottle, not because I think he's stronger than me, because I don't want to get wet, but he thinks it's because he thinks he's stronger than me. So see, you get a reward. You know, they have a good reward for their labor if there's 2 together. So you just figure these things out. But anyway, ask him to open jars for you, or pickle jars, but make sure he feels that you need his affection. And we have talked a lot about that, and I'm not going to really go into that, except for I do think that I will say this, ladies, that every marriage has a time. You will probably go through a time, if you haven't already, where you don't feel very physically attracted to your husband. I don't even think that's the way to say it. You don't really have any physical desires. You think, I don't know what happened to them, but they're gone right now. And I think a lot of hormonal things cause that. I know after babies that could happen. A lot of things cause that. And it may not be that anything is wrong in your marriage. It's just there's something wrong in you. And you think, what is wrong with me? I just don't, I really don't, what I used to really enjoy, I think don't even go there. let me just tell you one thing that I believe is the best way to fight that and to help your husband know that you need him is when you feel like, you know you have to go to bed that night, you know it's about 8 o'clock at night, and you're thinking, I really wish I felt different right now. You need to just decide, I'm going to be the one that gets things going here. And I'm going to take charge, and I'm going to be the initiator, and my husband's going to never know how I feel. And you know what? When you go on the attack, then you're in control. And you don't feel like you're being taken advantage of. But when you don't have any desire, and you make him be the one who approaches you, you say, okay, I'm going to be a good wife, we're going to do this, but you feel like you've been taken advantage of. Because you weren't getting anything out of this. But if you take control and say, I'm going to go on the attack, I'm going to be the one who gets this going, then now you're in control and you don't have that feeling. Then you have the feeling of, I made my husband happy, and I love him. And he never knows that you didn't need him that night. Because he needs to feel that you need him. Men will never understand that we don't feel physically attractive to him. Or we don't want to have, I don't even like the word sex, I hate that word, but we don't want to make love to him. They cannot fathom that. They can't. Nothing changes with them. They're just like this all the time, like my husband said. We are like this, like this, like this. And you know, it's like that with us. So that's why they don't need to know that we don't want them. And we really don't want them sometimes. And I'm just being honest. I mean, you may be one of those ladies who, you're like this too. Maybe you're like that. If I wish I knew your secret, I would like to be up there with you. So it's not what you want. It's what you want to. You want to be his friend, and you want to meet his needs. But don't give up on him. That's the last one. Don't give up on him. Okay, I don't know what that's going to say. But don't give up on him. Let me read this little thing to you, and then we're going to have to hurry here. Socrates, this is about Socrates, and he was a great philosopher, and he had a lot of great ideas about things. And let's see if I can get some of this. He had a friend come to him, or a fellow met him one day and said, "Do you know what I just heard about your friend?" "Hold on a minute," Socrates replied. "Before telling me anything, I'd like you to pass a little test. It's called the triple filter test." "Triple filter?" "That's right," Socrates continued. "Before you talk to me about my friend, it might be a good idea to take a moment and filter what you're going to say. That's why I call it the triple filter test. The first filter is truth. Have you made absolutely sure that what you are about to tell me is true?" Well, no, the man said. "Actually, I just heard about it." "All right," said Socrates. "So you don't know if it's true or not. Now let's try the second filter, the filter of goodness. Is what you're about to tell me about my friend something good?" "Well, no, on the contrary." "So," Socrates continued, "you want to tell me something bad about him, but you're not sure it's true. You may still pass the test, though, because there is one filter left, the filter of usefulness. Is what you want to tell me about my friend going to be useful to me?" "No, not really." "Well," concluded Socrates, "if what you want to tell me is neither true nor good or even useful, why tell me at all?" And you know, the next time the devil comes to you and says, "Let me remind you of something about your husband," and he starts talking to you, before you start listening to the devil and his accusations, you might give him the triple filter test and say, "Are these thoughts true?" Do you know sometimes we ladies can exaggerate things in our own minds? Sometimes we could make something seem much worse than it really is. Have you ever said and rehearsed what you would like to say to your husband? And you start saying it, then you think, well, no, that's not exactly true. And then you'd like to say it this way, and you go, well, no, that's not exactly true. You're just an emotional mess, is what you are, and everything you're feeling really isn't very true. Are these thoughts good reports? Will they cause me to love him more and be a better friend to him? Are these thoughts useful? Will it help him? Will it help him or me to think on these things? When we dwell on those things we cannot change, we destroy our friend and we would destroy our friendship. We will not change him. Dwell on how you can be a good friend, not on how to make your husband be a good friend to you. What do we live for if it's not to make life less difficult for each other? George Eliot said that. True friendship multiplies joys and divides griefs. But anyway, let me encourage you to just ask God to help you remember to be your husband's friend. Okay, let's pray. Dear Lord, I do pray that you would bless these ladies, and I pray that you bless their marriages. And I pray you help them to be their husband's friend, and help them to know what to do with the difficult times, help them to know what to do with the good times, and help them to know that there is no perfect situation. There is no true paradise in anybody's life. It's just what we make of it. In Jesus' name, amen.